Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year, or 10 to 50 transactions per year, or more, well, then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together. And welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and I'm here talking about growth in your real estate business. And if you're looking to grow from, maybe 5 transactions to 10 or 10 to 20 or 20 to 30 or more, then hopefully you're in the right place, and hopefully we can bring some value to our listeners today. And I've been in the real estate business for 20 years now and have grown just about every year since. And I'm happy to share some of my nuggets and wisdom, some of the many failures that I've had along the way, but also some successes. And hopefully you can use some of those insights to shortcut your real estate business as well. Also, I'm bringing on wonderful guests. Today, I have a great guest with me is Seth Peterson, another great agent here in my market in the Madison area in Wisconsin. And we are just gonna, talk back and forth a little bit more. Seth's been in the business a number of years as well. And so he's got a lot of great insight and a lot of great things hopefully to share with you as well. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to Seth and let him give a little more of an intro about himself and some of his background and kind of where we're at today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I think we started probably around the same time because it's been 20 years for me as well. So yeah, 2005.
Time flies, right?
Yeah, it does. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So initially it was part-time for a couple of years there, but it's been full-time since, 2008, 2009. So 15 plus years. But yeah, for me, it was, I bought a house and I was like, kind of interested in the experience and like, I could do that. And a big thing for me was, I don't like having a boss. If I can be my own boss, that's ideal. So that's kind of a main thing that drew me into real estate. So yeah, I just got into it and then found a group of guys. There's kind of a few of us, about 5 of us that kind of all were starting our business at the same time. And I joined in their company, it was Cooper Spransy Realty at the time. Now it's Realty Executives Cooper Spransy, still with them. Now it's like the largest office in Dane County, I think. At the time, it was like 5 of us. So, so we were able to kind of encourage each other and learn from each other and just build our businesses together. But we each were individual. It wasn't a team of sorts. And so, from there, internet leads was a thing that kind of started getting my business going.
Hold on, let's slow down a little bit. Let's just slow down because you've already said quite a bit that I think is interesting for some people to hear. So you started out part-time and then went to full-time, right? I kind of did a similar path, right? I mean, I was bartending part-time and then waiting or trying to do real estate full-time, but either way, it was like a part-time, full-time. What about for you? How did that transition look, right? Like if say I'm an agent and I am only doing it part-time, maybe I have another full-time job but I want to make that leap. I want to go full-time. I want to make this a career. What do you think were some of those key moments that helped you go from, okay, I'm not just doing it part-time anymore. Here we go, full-time. And what do you think were the key levers and key things that really made a difference for you? So, and while you're thinking about it, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'll share a little bit on my insight. Like I said, I was bartending part-time and then trying to do real estate full-time. But I think for me, I wasn't even a homeowner at the time, right? Like I was still not sure what I wanted to do when I grow up, right? I mean, I'm in my 20s and trying to figure life out. But I think I remember after about a year, maybe a year and a half of just thinking, okay, well, I can't just do this sort of part-time. And for me, it was like just making that mental commitment and that mental shift immediately changed everything for me and my business. So my business immediately took off as soon as I made that mental commitment to say, all right, if I'm going to do this, like, let's go all in. And my effort increased and my level of commitment increased. And as a result, my business increased. And so for me, that was kind of that pivotal moment. But I had that sort of awareness piece, and it didn't happen, like I said, right away. I started out kind of unsure if this is even what I wanted to do. But for me, it was pivotal after about a year. It's like, okay, I can't just keep doing this part-time or sort of, right? Like either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. So for me, that was a big big piece. But yeah, what about for you? What was that pivotal moment for you that allowed you to kind of go part-time to full-time?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I mean, what you're doing is you're building a business, right? And so whether it's real estate or anything that you're doing, if you're building a business, it's going to take time. I don't know the exact numbers here, but I think you should expect it to take a couple of years before it's really a business that you can rely on for full income, for like being, this is your only income. And of course, that's not always the case, but that is, I think, the average, or at least the expectation. And the other part of that is like you get your real estate license and you think you understand real estate, but they don't teach you anything about building a business. And unless you have that background, you're just completely fresh learning, like, what am I doing? How do I get sales? How do I find the person who needs to buy a house and sell a house? And so that's really the learning curve, I think. So maybe that depends on your experience. If you're older, if you've been an entrepreneur for years, perhaps you could, short circuit that and it wouldn't take you as long. But that was the big thing for me that kind of took some time. And so initially I did go full time pretty quickly, maybe after 6 to 12 months or something. But then I went back to part-time. And actually what I did to kind of help a little bit was I got a job somewhat in the industry. I became a leasing agent. So then I learned a lot of the rental side of things. And that was like 32 hours a week and not 40. So kind of a little bit more time. And then I was able to even find a few clients, from those renters. Obviously some people are,
those renters want to become homeowners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a good, if you're going to have a part-time job, I would say that's a better part-time job to have as you're trying to build a real estate career. But then you're right. You just got to jump in. At some point, you got to jump in and be full, like, mentally, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to make it happen, and really just have that fortitude to do it.
Yeah.
If you never have that, then it's probably not going to happen. So, yeah.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying the show. Just wanted to interrupt real quick and just say that if you want more of this discussion and topic about growth in your real estate business, then I just want to invite you to join us on one of our future masterminds. We do them every week, all the time, either virtually or in person. And you can go to realestateteammastermind.com, learn a little more about that, and sign up to join us on the next call. Again, realestateteammastermind.com. Hope you're enjoying the show. Take care. Yeah, you got to make it happen. I think at the end of the day, that's great advice. I mean, I think it is building a business. And like a lot of people maybe don't realize that at first, but business doesn't just happen on its own, right? It takes effort, work, phone calls, building a marketing plan, building a campaign, building what you're planning to reach out about, studying the market, knowing the market. I think, a lot of it, if you have built a business, that probably can short circuit your, and improve the likelihood that you can succeed faster. I think that's a great advice. So anybody out there that if you've already built a business, then maybe this is a good fit for you, for sure. No, I think that's good advice. But you did something also interesting too, right? Like you bought a home.
Yeah, that helped.
You bought a home. That helps. There's a lot of realtors. Like I said, I got started. I had never owned a home before. I mean, I did eventually, but then, when I first started, I didn't. And, I've talked to people as well that maybe are renters that want to become a homeowner, but they haven't bought a home, but they also are thinking about getting into real estate. And it's possible, but it's hard. I'll tell you what, those first 2 years in my life in this business were probably some of the hardest, and mainly because I had never owned a home before. So I didn't really know what all goes into it and how to fully empathize with people and where they're at in the process. So, so if you're thinking about getting into real estate and you've never even owned a home yourself, maybe that's a better first step, actually, is buy a home yourself. Now you know what that process is like. And then you can also decide, hey, maybe this is something you can do, right? Or maybe you think the opposite and you're like, oh my God, I would never want to do that, right? I think that can be a good awareness exercise, right? Plus it's a good thing to do, especially if you're planning to stay in an area, and a good kind of way to build wealth long term, I think. So I was
going to say it's probably just good life advice in general. If you're
good life advice. Yeah, if you've
never
owned a home before, go buy a home. You bet.
That's right. I totally agree. And it's tough. Those, I guess another thing on those first years, and maybe something I'd say that I could have done differently, perhaps.
Yeah.
At least this is my advice now to newer agents just jumping into real estate, is I think it really does help if you can join a team. and at the very least have a mentor that you're somewhat working with, whether you're getting leads from them, you're maybe co-listing with them. Because again, it's just so hard to build the business. And so, I mean, I did it just independently without anybody else. And yeah, it's difficult. And there's no leads coming in. There's nothing really happening. You have to just make it all happen. And even if you're doing that, it takes time. It's not like immediately within a month, you got like five buyers or something. So to be on a team where one, you're getting leads, but in addition to that, you're getting advice, and you have someone to go to every single time you run into a problem, or you're writing an offer for the first time. Like, how do I do this? There's just so many questions and so many situations that you're going to run into. And if you have that support system built in and you're not feeling like you're bothering someone every time, or like, oh gosh, I got to reach out to this agent again, and I just want help, So I thankfully I was at Keller Williams those first couple of years, and there were a couple of agents that really were helpful and just totally willing to help me out. And I did have somewhat of a mentor of sorts and co-listed a couple, but it would have helped to be on a team and have leads like fed to me and just kind of have that practice of following up with leads and all that kind of stuff, and just, more business at that time.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's interesting, right? Because one of the first things you said earlier was, I got into this because I don't like to have a boss, right?
Yes.
I don't want a boss. Well, guess what? It's a double-edged sword. If you don't have a boss, then nobody's telling you what to do or how to do it, and nobody's really giving you advice. But one of the best pieces of advice is go get a boss, sort of, right? In the form of a mentor or a team or a brokerage that can pour into you and help you succeed. Because if you're just trying to do this totally on an island without a boss or without a mentor or without a team or without anything, it's pretty hard, is what I heard you say.
Yes.
Is just trying to do it by yourself is pretty hard. And so if you were to start over today, you would totally lean into that even more and identify either a team or a mentor or somebody to help you succeed faster. Get some leads, get some opportunities, get some dialogues. I think that's one of the basic skills also that is essential in this business. Is when you first get started, you passed your exam, you can write a contract, but you don't know the dialogues to have, right? How do you even explain an offer to purchase? How do you explain what's a good offer? How do you give advice around the transaction, right? If you've never had that conversation before as a brand new agent, that's a pretty hard conversation. And you need to practice that, and you need to have good advice around those conversations. And so I think that's pretty wise advice for sure. So, yeah. So one of the things you did though, too, to build your business, you had mentioned something about like staying top of mind. What do you do to stay top of mind with potential buyers and sellers and really build your business that way?
Yeah, I guess one thing that stood out, maybe why I said that, is I had done a newsletter for years, like mailed out a newsletter, and I tried to do it monthly, but, I didn't have someone doing it for me. I get busy, and then, then it would end up being maybe 3 or 4 times a year or something. But, I would send like brewer magnets once a year with that, and like Packer Badger magnets. So I would at least do it those 2 times. And then at some point I stopped doing it. I just stopped doing the newsletter, and I was getting less referrals, less like past clients contacting me. And I was talking to a guy in my office who was doing his newsletter thing, was kind of a big part of what he does. And he was doing it monthly. And I was like, maybe I should do this. So then I picked it up again. This was, I don't know, 2-3 years later or something. And definitely noticed that some of those past clients were now contacting me again. And so it's just as simple as staying top of mind. Like if you're not in front of them, sure, you sold them a house, and at that point in time, you were top of mind. But 6, 7, 8 years later, if you're not in contact with them, some of those people will contact you. They had a great experience and they remember it. But some of those people, they're just like, it's not top of mind. It's nothing against you. But so that was a big learning point to me, I guess, was just, you just got to stay in front. Whether it's
sending newsletters, your business went up. You stopped sending newsletters, your business went down. And you started sending them again, and it went back up, right? So the message is, send newsletters, send something, do something to stay top of mind, right?
Yeah, you could call them.
You can't just do nothing and hope they call you. They won't call you.
Yes, you have to do something. So I haven't been one to call, but that, I mean, it's outstanding if you can call me, call them on your birthday, on their birthday, call them on their house anniversary, or, have some excuse to give them a call, or have coffee with people, or have events, parties, people do that. Those are all good ideas that I don't do myself, but I think they're all very good ideas.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's a great idea. I think sending newsletters is great. I've been sending newsletters for years, probably, and I don't do as much printed, but we do an email newsletter, and I've been sending it for years. And I first remember thinking, I used to do it about once a month, and we do it a little bit more than that now. But it's all a bunch of stuff to kind of stay top of mind, right? There's real estate stuff, but there's also community things. There's different things going on, so it's not just right. Like, not everybody always wants to hear about real estate. I mean, obviously, that's certainly a part of it, and that's certainly what I'm doing. But sometimes there's other things going on in the community, and other events that we do for past clients and friends and family and everything like that. And so we just want to stay top of mind as well for those things. And, if and when the need does happen, that a new job opportunity comes up, or they're looking for a bigger house or smaller house or whatever it might be, then hopefully they do think of me, and hopefully then, they do reach out. And I think if, for me, for sure, that if you don't send those newsletters, right, then the odds of them calling, people forget, right? People do get busy. And I think you do need to have definitely a campaign or a plan or something in mind. And if you're not doing it yourself, right, you need to hire somebody to help you with it, right?
Yeah. And I hired a company to write the newsletter for me, because I just wasn't doing it. So now it's consistently done, and they do a great job. They do a better job than me in terms of finding just kind of interesting things. Like you said, it's not all about real estate. It's a lot of what's going on in Madison over the next month, or things to do, spring cleaning item, whatever, just kind of random different things, plus a little bit of real estate data. If I have a listing, that's probably on there. But it's not all real estate. It's just kind of interesting information that people will hopefully like to read.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely helpful. So, well, very cool. We've covered a few different things. Well, we all know that the real estate market kind of went bonkers during COVID, and we're kind of experiencing a little bit of a shift right now. And what's working for you now, or how do you see the rest of this year shaking out, or what do you think? Any key insights that you're noticing, trends, or anything like that?
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of an interesting time. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? And Madison is still very competitive. I would say it's not. And there are some markets nationally that apparently are buyers markets at this point.
Yeah.
So, Madison's not that at all. It's definitely a seller's market. But I think, like you alluded to, it is kind of shifting. It is kind of a interesting, little weird market. You're not sure what to expect. Sometimes you get multiple offers, and sometimes the listing just sits and you're not quite sure why that is. So I think us as agents are going to need to start working a little bit harder, a little bit more in terms of these listings. Listings just kind of sold themselves for the past 5 years. So, taking that marketing seriously, taking the staging seriously, and just getting the house ready to show, and teaching the client as to like what's needed here. How are we going to stand out? Honestly, you could have gotten away not doing any of that stuff for the past 5 years. And I think that we need to, and a lot of good agents are doing that no matter what. But I think it's just, again, becoming more important. Again, with pricing it correctly is always important, but that seems like, again, it's kind of more important than it has been. Buyers don't write offers if it's priced too high for whatever reason. They just,
they're way more hesitant, I've noticed. Yep, for sure.
Yep. So I think paying more attention on the listing side is something agents need to do. On the buying side, I guess it's still depending on who you're working with. Right now I have a buyer. It's tough. So in certain markets, it's still really difficult. You're competing with 5-10 people. They're going over asking with no contingency. So that's still around. And so that's the same stuff we've been talking about the past few years, I guess, with just how to navigate that, give them advice on how to set yourself apart with inspection, with appraisal, and kind of just, I think the important thing there with buyers is that you're just educating them properly so they know like the risks that they're taking and what they're getting into. At the same time, like you want them to be competitive. So that is kind of a thin line that you're walking as an agent, that you just have to be careful. You don't want to throw them to the wolves. You just want them to know what they're doing, but at the same time, they need to buy a house, and you do have to sacrifice some stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's still going on too.
Yeah, no, I've definitely noticed that. I mean, certain areas, certain neighborhoods, right? The best homes priced well are always going to sell, and they're always going to tend to attract the most amount of attention. And, definitely, I've seen it as well. They definitely can attract multiple offers and still bid that price way up, but not quite as much. I haven't noticed it quite as much as well. And then, certain properties, maybe they are taking a little bit longer to sell. And I think I've noticed also just prices flattening, not as much dropping, but I have heard and read some research that, maybe different markets in the South are maybe turning into more buyers markets. But I think our market is still a fairly strong sellers market. I think, I think we'll tend to see that interesting shift. I mean, our sales are, they're definitely down from the last couple of years, as you would expect, as interest rates rose, right? That certainly cooled things off. And, but I think at the end of the day, people still need to own a home or want to own a home. And if they're able to make that move, then they definitely are, right? Job relocations are still happening. People still decide. I mean, I got a house under contract right now. The guy had lived there for 52 years, and doesn't matter what the interest rates are. It's time to move, it's time to go. So at the end of the day, certain moves are still going to happen, and certain transactions are still going to happen. And I think you're absolutely dead on. I think agents that are going to win in this market are the ones that are going to have to maybe work a little bit harder and put themselves out there a little bit more and be a little bit more thoughtful in terms of the listing process and the buying process. But one of the things I've done for years actually is we've really broken down our listing process and kind of slowed it down in some ways, right? So we intentionally prefer to have a couple of weeks of sort of prep time before we start showings on a property.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of those ways that we intentionally just kind of slow down and just make sure that when it does go active, that it does look the best, that the photos are perfect, that the staging is perfect, and that, all those things happen. So I think if we do that and we do slow down a little bit more, then that you tend to get better results usually for your clients. At least that's one thing I've noticed for sure. So, but can we list a house tomorrow? Yeah, we can. It's just maybe not ideal. That's for sure. So
that's right. Yeah.
A little bit of prep time before we start showings and hit the go button. But that's one of the things we've done. So, well, that's cool, man. All right. Well, we've been kind of chatting for quite a while, shared a lot of good insight. Anything else on your mind, or anything else that you think our listeners might get some value from, or anything else that you want us to kind of check in about that you think would be helpful for our listeners?
Yeah, I guess one thing is, if there's a niche that you have, that's a good route to go, or even if it's just kind of a part of your business. So for example, like I flip houses also, and then that's kind of gone into, now I'm helping other people flip houses, and I'm a client, or, some of my clients are flippers. And since I have that experience and that knowledge, and I'm really able to help them with the numbers as to, here's what this house is probably going to sell for, here's what I think, the rehab numbers might look like. So, so someone who's flipping probably wants an agent like me in terms of for that niche, but there's many niches, or just regular, rental properties would be kind of a bigger one. But, if there's something that you're really interested in, learn about that, do it. Kind of like you're saying before, like buy a house, like, okay, flip a house, buy a rental property, or whatever the niche
to learn
might
about
be.
flipping than to actually do it. Just dive in and do it. Yeah.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. So, but then that leads to more business in whatever niche, if you're becoming an expert in something, then you're going to be desired. People are going to want to work with you.
Totally. Yep. No, I think, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that, it doesn't, it's no secret, right? You can look in our MLS in our market and kind of see, right, out of the top agents, if you look at them closely, there is a niche of some kind, right? Whether it's a geographic niche or a property type niche or whatever it might be, you can definitely see that those that have chosen and identified a niche to specialize in definitely leads to greater levels of success. Plus, it just allows you to focus more, right? Like if I know at baseline, like, hey, I'm looking for flip opportunities, then I'm not looking at every property. I'm looking at just certain types, right? That need some rehab, need some work, are going to be priced accordingly or whatever it might be. So I think if you do identify a niche, I think it's good because it can help you focus your efforts and not try to be all things to all people. And it's kind of a hard thing to do, I think, too, when you're new, because maybe you don't know what your niche is yet, or maybe you don't know what you want it to be. But when you're new, I think you're just trying to get some type of business going. But I think at the end of the day, you can still come in and identify, maybe what is your 1 or 2 key niches that you want them to be. And, you can still serve other clients. It's not like saying you can't serve other clients, but maybe, those 1 or 2, if you can become the go-to expert in flipping or in, a certain neighborhood or geographic area or even a demographic, right? Like some people really like working with first-time home buyers, or like working with, luxury homes or multifamily or whatever it might be. But I think if you can identify at least one niche that you really want to go deep on and become the expert at, then that can be a big leg of your business for sure, that can make you successful. So no, I think that's a great tip, great advice. So our office is over here. We're right near Monona. So we've done a lot of business, try to focus more on that Monona east side, South Madison area is kind of one of our niches, right? Like our team has kind of tried to focus in on this area, but also, I've done some flipping too, right? So like I have a certain investment side of my business as well. And so sometimes it's like I want to be too many things, too many niches. So I got to focus. only have my couple, stay focused. So that's
right.
What do they call that? The squirrel mentality, right? Oh, I want to do that. Yeah, I want to do that. If I gotta calm that voice, that inner voice that wants to do everything. So
Excellent.
Oh, cool, man. Well, Seth, I really appreciate you coming on our show today and dropping some nuggets for our listeners and sharing some of your insight for both of us over the last 20 years in real estate. And hopefully our listeners got some value out of today's episode. And if we can help out in any other way, then obviously feel free to reach out to either one of us. But again, you're watching the Better Agent podcast, listening to the Better Agent podcast direct intended for you to help you grow your real estate business. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and here with Seth Peterson. And we're just grateful that you spent some time listening to what we had to share with you today. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.